Well, the confrontation between China and the United States continues. And if earlier it was mainly taking place in the trade sphere, now it goes beyond just a trade war. And now United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced that the United States will decisively cancel visas for Chinese students. This will become a serious escalation of tensions in relations with Beijing and another blow to American higher education institutions. Nevertheless, in Washington, they have directly stated that there is no need to accept Chinese students anymore. They need to be expelled because they don't just come here to study. They learn, they gain wisdom, and then this wisdom is used by our adversary, that is, by the Communist Party of China. And here, many analysts point out that even Xi Jinping's children studied in the United States of America. Basically, almost all the top officials of the current Communist Party of China have, in one way or another, received education in the United States. And then this country suddenly became more powerful and started competing with those very United States. That's why in this episode we'll discuss this topic, because China is already very dissatisfied and is openly shouting that you can't act like this. Why are you kicking our students out? But the Americans say that no, it's finally time to deal with this. And why are we educating Chinese students who then compete with us? My name is Alexei Pichi. Today is the 29th of May on the calendar. Let's talk about everything in order. Before we begin, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, leave a like, write a comment, and friends, be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. It's called that, and the link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish up-to-date news and analytical summaries. So, Marco Rubio stated the other day that the United States of America will cancel visas for Chinese students. This plan, of course, was met with strong resistance from China, which the other day stated that it had filed an official protest with the United States, calling it a politically motivated and discriminatory move. Well, according to Marco Rubio, the response will be directed at Chinese students, including those connected to the Communist Party of China, or studying in critically important fields. Next, I will quote the Secretary of State. We will also review the criteria for issuing visas in order to strengthen control over all future visa applications from the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong. He added that the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security will work together on the revocation of visas, that is, to cancel these visas. And this unexpected statement risks to some extent undermining the current efforts of the United States and China to de-escalate tensions, since it was made just a few weeks after both sides announced a 90-day truce over tariffs on each other's goods. Well, it also intensifies the growing confrontation between President Donald Trump and leading United States universities. Marco Rubio's comments followed a series of extraordinary measures taken by the Trump administration aimed at preventing foreign students from studying in the United States. From the order for the embassy to suspend accepting new students for student visas, to depriving Harvard University of the ability to admit foreign students. But, by the way, a little later, a federal judge overturned the ban on foreign students studying at Harvard. This situation still needs to be sorted out. Well, and this last step, which was announced by Marco Rubio, should cause horror and outrage in China, the country of origin of almost a quarter of foreign students in United States higher education institutions. That is, just imagine, 25% of all foreign students in the United States are Chinese. This will also likely increase concerns in American universities, where Chinese and other foreign students are still a significant source of income. There are signs that Beijing was caught off guard by this statement. For most of Thursday, China's state media largely remained silent about the news, which significantly affects the fate of hundreds of thousands of Chinese students. The situation changed when an official comment finally came from Mao Ning. She is a representative of China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs who accused the United States of using ideology and national security as a pretext for this move. As she stated, quote, "This politically motivated and discriminatory move exposes the falsehood of America's long-standing claims that it is free and open. And it will only further undermine the international image and national reputation of the United States." She added that this will harm the legal rights and interests of Chinese students and disrupt people-to-people exchanges between the two countries. Fear and anger, on the other hand, have already spread among Chinese students studying in the United States. Some students who spoke with American media say they don't know what to do about this. We hoped for an American education. We came here, paid money, got a visa, and now they want to kick us out. But on the other hand, we need to understand that American universities have been attracting some of the brightest minds from China for decades. Seen as a path to prestigious education and better career opportunities, American colleges have attracted Chinese students from middle-class families and from China's political and business elite. Many Chinese officials have sent and continue to send their children to American schools, including China's leader Xi Jinping, whose daughter Xi Mingzhe studied at Harvard, but under a pseudonym. That is, even the leader of China, Xi Jinping, sent his daughter to study at an American university. For some reason, well, apparently because the education there is really better, some high-ranking Chinese officials themselves received their education in the United States. Liu He, a former economic and the closest advisor to Xi Jinping, received a master's degree in public administration from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. In the 90s, Wang Huning, who is also the ideological guru of the Communist Party of China, he was a visiting scholar at the University of Iowa in the 80s. In general, many Chinese officials, entrepreneurs and scientists, especially those who played a key role during the era of reform and opening up, studied in the United States of America. Well, let me give you a few interesting figures. According to the data, this is a database supported by the State Department that tracks the registration of foreign students. China remained the main source of foreign students in the United States for 15 consecutive years, until last year when it was surpassed by India. So now there are more Indian students in the United States than Chinese. After decades of growth, the number of Chinese students in the United States peaked at more than 372,000 people in the academic year, 2019 to 2020. Then it dropped to more than 270,000 people in 1 year during the period from 2023 to 2024. Well, as you understand, this decline coincided with the coronavirus disease-19 pandemic, but it was also intensified by the tension between the two governments. The number of American students in China has significantly decreased, dropping from more than 10,000 to just a few hundred during the pandemic. According to the American Chamber of Commerce in China, in the 2023 to 2024 academic year, there were 800 American students studying in China. Once again, there are 800 American students studying in China. In the United States of America, at its peak, there were 372,000 Chinese students studying. This is in one academic year, that is, it refers to the increase. I will also add here that in Mark Rubio's statement, it was not specified which critical areas were meant. That is, from where Chinese students need to be removed. But in Washington, there has long been concern about Chinese scientists' access to secret and militarily applicable American technologies, and to prevent the alleged threat from Chinese students engaged in espionage on United States territory. Trump introduced a ban during his first term that effectively deprived graduates of Chinese universities specializing in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, fields considered to be linked to the military, of the opportunity to obtain visas to the United States. In other words, if you studied these professions in China, you won't get a United States visa. The first Trump administration also launched the now defunct so-called China Initiative. This was a national security program aimed at countering China's intelligence activities in the United States, including efforts directed at stealing new technologies from research universities. A program that was compared to the anti-communist threat. It was cancelled by the Biden administration after it faced widespread backlash, because it was seen as an overreach of authority, and complaints that it fueled suspicion and prejudice against innocent Chinese American citizens. Plus, it's unclear now how American officials will identify students, as Marco Rubio said, who have ties to the Communist Party of China. Let me remind you that in China, the Communist Party has about 100 million members. That's just the official number. It's very difficult to figure things out here. As a result, many Chinese students may have parents or relatives who are members of the party or work in the vast state sector. If you take into account all their friends and relatives, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that almost every one of them is somehow connected to the Communist Party of China. So, in principle, this can be considered realistic. Is there a ban in general on Chinese people studying in the United States of America? Please write in the comments how you feel about such an initiative when Chinese people are simply banned from getting an education in the United States of America. I'll put an ellipsis here. Friends, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and like this episode if you want to support the work of this channel.